Split fiction is what happens when peanut butter is combined with chocolate, or spaghetti with meatballs. When science fiction blends magic and fantasy into a wild experience of extreme ups and very small downs. I went into split fiction with no real knowledge of what to expect. I was sold on a gimmick. Let me explain. I was watching the Video Game Awards with First Lady Fire Ray, something that's almost become a tradition. She noticed that one of her favorite games, A Way Out, which was developed by Hazelight Studios, had developed another game called Split Fiction, in which you play as either Mio or Zoe, who I like to call the odd couple simulator. God, I'm old. Mio is obsessed with sci-fi Blade Runner, cyberpunk aesthetics, while Zoe feels right at home in a Tolkien magic fairytale novel. As I said, peanut butter, chocolate. Anyway, besides the fun-looking gameplay and the very pretty visuals, what sold me was the way Joseph Fares, the director of Split Fiction, explained the hook of the game. Split Fiction will be a multiplayer platformer in which one person can share a code which allows the other player online to play a friend pass copy, which works when the main copy is online and linked. Long story short, one version for two people to play online. At that point, I was intrigued. Well, I'm here to tell you that the experience is fun, but lacks a little thing called depth. But before I explain, let me first introduce 2025, and this is Split Fiction, possibly Game of the Year. Split Fiction starts off with Zoe and Mio arriving at Radar Publishing with the promise of getting some of their ideas published. Zoe and Mio are writers individually different in every way. Zoe is extremely friendly, non-violent, granola type, while Mio is an introvert, obsessed with futuristic settings with cyber swords. Majority of the time she will be telling Zoe to shut up for talking too much. Radar Publishing obviously isn't exactly what they seem. In a condensed explanation, Radar Publishing was going to use a newly developed simulation machine to steal the ideas, which surprisingly goes wrong. Zoe and Mio end up stuck in the same simulation, reliving each other's writing and figuring that they have to jump in between each split fiction, which shows up as portals, hoping their next jump is their jump home. Jesus, I'm old. Gameplay for Split Fiction is a mixture of traditional platforming and co-op puzzles. You play as Mio or Zoe. Together, you and a co-op teammate. Hopefully you can find one, because the game cannot be played solo. So for my introverted gamers, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get on Discord or create a friend, possibly a work friend. Anyway, Split Fiction as a platformer feels amazing. The controls are quick to learn, especially if you've played past third-person adventure platformers like Uncharted or Sly Cooper. The game blends two-dimensional moments that feels like Braid or Little Big Planet with 3D set pieces. I was blown away early when myself and Fire Race had to jump and avoid ogres while climbing. The stage seamlessly transitioned to us running at the screen and then accidentally falling into a river or a stream that uses the corpses of the dead ogres to break barriers and create holes for us to continue our travel. The action is fast, and the set pieces are designed to take advantage of each character's specific skills. Zoe usually has a skill that is non-violent. She becomes a giant tree, or a fairy, or something that can fly or shrink, or become a god of nature, while Mio can become animals, more physical attributes like a giant gorilla that hits and climbs and move things, or this Chinese dragon otter that can swim and solve puzzles underwater. Speaking of puzzles, most will not task your brain too much. Most were on the easy side. However, that doesn't mean that they aren't fun and don't require a moment of pause. 1 second Mio is upside down on a different plane, but Zoe, while on the ground, needs to turn into a tree to whip a switch, which allows Mio to break a stone so Zoe can pass, all while in the same room. The puzzle that had me vexed a bit was the totem puzzle. I will not explain because I feel like it's the first real puzzle where you have to communicate with your teammate and strategize. Also, F the ice puzzle. That had me stuck for a minute. The game wouldn't work with the AI partner because you have to coordinate, and timing can be very strict with a lot of puzzles. So I hate that you can't play it solo. I respect the world building. The developer's decision to make the game like this means that split fiction might not age well. It takes too much collaboration to play even online. Imagine 5 years from now and how many games have an active community. Then factor in the fact that split fiction is a story game, not about killing or being the best with leaderboards. And I don't see this game lasting long unless you join a community or Discord or Reddit blog asking for players to play every time. And all, I feel split fiction doesn't give hope for replay value over time. Split fiction has fun and lively banter between Zoe and Mio. Granted, sometimes plot points are dropped in conversation. If you weren't paying attention, it can result in a death, but the game has no penalties besides waiting a couple seconds to try again. You really can't take death serious, especially when you have a set piece when you transfer into a pig with the intent to become a hot dog and get eaten. Yes, that is a stage, and a damn good one too. Boss fights are not truly defined clearly. Not that the bosses don't have a shining, glowing weak spot, they just don't seem to matter. And when it's over, you're kinda like, alright, on to the next cool set piece. Boss fights have their moments. When compared to the set pieces, they blend into just another small obstacle. Maybe if a villain were taunting you through the majority of the game, or we get to see them be a villain, it would make you care more. Maybe I'm wrong. What's your experience? Type it in the comment section. Split fiction has DLC in-game. Yes, I'm not joking, by the way. At certain times, stages will have portals that are unfinished stories from both Mio and Zoe. These side stories are not necessary, but curiosity to see them all is strong. I was never in a rush to finish. The gameplay changes so much that I'm not doing it justice. You will have to see it for yourself. The music of Split Fiction doesn't stand out. Also, it doesn't break the immersion. Everything fits, nothing particularly stands out either. Split Fiction soundtrack is available on YouTube, but personally, no bop for me. In conclusion, Split Fiction is an experience that's very unique and high in concept. I enjoyed the different set pieces, the world building, the gameplay direction. The story is good, if not a little predictable. It's another bad corporation, and will these opposites work together to free themselves from the machine? Well, yes. Split Fiction shoots for a specific niche in split screen co-op, which has gone away since online gaming became the most convenient way to game. I respect what the game is trying to do, but I gotta be honest with this. In my opinion, it's gonna age like milk. I can't see this game being replayed when you need another person at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're just trying to relax after work and you got about an hour to play. I can't see people going to Discord and Reddit every time you want to play Split Fiction. Now, with that being said, I will say, if you can, go out and enjoy it. But now, to the numbers, baby! For graphics, we have 9 out of 10. For sound, 9 out of 10. For music, 7 out of 10. For gameplay, 10 out of 10. And for story, 6 out of 10. Which gives us a score of 41. Which means...
Who made y'all hear me? Hey, who made there? Jason, you killing it, man!
No nostalgia points, because Split Fiction is a current game that is very accessible for every console except Switch 1. The price may vary, not sure how used copies work with the passcode and sharing. If you decide to buy a used copy, you might want to do some research before buying. In all, we enjoyed the experience of Split Fiction. The game showcases great fun, set pieces, great concepts of gameplay, almost flawless co-op with puzzle solving that offers slight challenges but never unfair. However, Split Fiction is without small gripes, such as a weak story that is very predictable and safe. The game runs about 8 to 10 hours, and honestly, you do start to feel it near the end, in my opinion. While Fire Rays didn't feel this way, I started to feel like, yeah, I'm still loving the game, but let's wrap this up. Maybe if the game had RPG mechanics or progression of characters, I wouldn't have started to feel the playtime. They kind of changed things though. They go through some dark places at the end with family trauma. I was stuck like, I kinda don't care, but that's my jaded experience. Fire Ray's had a completely different perspective, and maybe she will explain herself and her views on the walkthrough video coming soon. And all this game is a complete experience worth the money, time, and experimental co-op gaming. But don't take my word for it. Go out there and buy the game, experience it for yourself. You know, I'm gonna tell you that you're gonna enjoy it. Just hopefully you have someone else to play it with. Well, I guess that brings us to the end, people. And you know what? Let me give you the quote of the day. It's a short one. My mind is like a browser with too many tabs open. Indeed. I guess it's very slow. Alright, till next time, people.
Like attack.